Hello, and welcome to this week's recap. Um, I have a to-do list over here on the left-hand side. It goes down for quite a while, and it's not as bad as it seems. But I've just recently started making a change log. I know I've been at it for like a year and a half, and I'm only just now getting around to doing the change log. But basically, it's separated in week-long increments. So my work week goes from Tuesday all the way to Saturday. Those are my normal work weeks, and basically all the work that I do will be in there, and then it will be separated like that. So I'm going to go over this week's list of changes. We've added quite a few items into the game, so if I get in here, it'll be a lot easier to show you. Okay, so we're in here. Just for the sake of game testing, I had the player start with 100 of every mineral. And this used to be all there was, but not anymore. So now we have this page, the refined minerals. So your basic minerals will turn into refined minerals. And then your refined minerals will turn into components. And your components turn into systems. And the systems are what makes the actual ships. So if we go over here to the forge, we can see a little bit what's going on over here. Alright, so we have some... Actually, if you try to use any of these consoles, you're going to get a player log over here that only saved characters can spend resources. So basically, I don't want you out there farming for your life and then realizing that the game never actually saved. So as soon as you go try to buy something, you'll figure out that something's up and that you never created a save data. So we're going to use our test character. I'm not sure where he is. He's got some varying degrees of minerals here, just different stuff that I've crafted just for the sake of testing. Make sure that everything saves the way it does and it comes back the way it's supposed to come back. So yeah, there's about, I'd say 60 to 61 items now. We've expanded the player GUI to account for them, so we have multiple pages here. Multiple spreadsheets for you to work with. Obviously, all this crafting can be really annoying to some people, so there's going to make more than one way to skin a cat. So we'll have a currency system implemented into the game where players can do quests and receive currency from doing the quests, and then use that to buy ships at, like, basically a car dealership is what I'm going to be creating. A bunch of little car dealerships everywhere. We don't need the 2D. Go away. So the dynamic GUI system, what that is before, what we used to do was mineral UI. Mineral UI was just a spreadsheet of everything that was available. Well, since that's ballooned totally out of proportion, I've created another system called the dynamic GUI system. So this thing, depending on what you're crafting, the requirements will change. And this isn't a good example. But if we have something a little bit more complex like this, depending on what you're crafting, and that's like all you can make here, your things will change what's available or how you craft it. The best example I can give, that's a wall. Oh boy, I cannot get off this wall. The best example I can show you is the spaceships, which use systems, varying degrees of systems, all different systems to create the same things. The bigger the spaceship, the more complicated your crafting tree is going to be, the more things it's going to require. So basically, if you like count the guns on the spaceship, you'll see that, okay, it makes sense. Does that bring us to our next point? So we've covered the dynamic GUI system. The crafting stations, we'll go back to the crafting stations over there at the forge, which is a cool little building I made last night. See if you can see the whole thing. We'll do a lap around. So yeah, it's just like a giant warehouse. Alright, hit the loop, hit the loop. Hyperloop. Oh boy, here we go. Okay, the crafting stations. So basically, go kind of... This one makes refined minerals. Not every single refined mineral is created here, though. Things that require more complexity, like stable antimatter and stable singularity at the bottom here, can only be crafted in a tokamak. Tokamak is a kind of... It uses magnets to funnel plasma into certain shapes, but so by using that, you can stabilize these crazy things down here. And other things like uranium and explosives and insulation, they're right next to each other. These hot three can only be acquired from a mill because they have to be grounded into powder, basically grounded into nothingness, and then reformed into their various shapes. So if we hit the button, explosive spawn, and you can spawn, if you have the materials for it. How much I have? Where is it? Volatile, unstable metal. I have a lot, so you can spam the console and then come over here and pick them up one at a time, or you can jump in your little ship and just drive into them. The ships are really convenient because they make things super easy for collecting. So if you spawn like 50 explosives and you don't want to pick them all up one by one, then yeah, just spawn your escape pod and fly it into it. You'll save yourself some time. The assembler makes... Actually, no. Components. So basically, you use the crucible, which is on the left, the tokamak, and the mill to make your refined minerals. Components need to be machined at the CNC machine. So if we do some... Do we have rods? I'm going to say no. Well, we have some rods. Let's get some more rods. So crafting variants. We have titanium plates, rods here. Titanium rods are just regular rods. So we can make rods with titanium. And if you see over here, it says I have 7 rods. There's variation. If you have tungsten, you make tungsten rods. It's a different color. It requires a different mineral to make, but the result is the same. You still get rods from it. That's there's a lot of variations of materials like that. We zoom in here. So yeah, the other variation of that is hull. So hull plating, depending what you have available, we have regular hull, which uses titanium. We have tungsten hull, and then the crystalline hull. They're all fundamentally the same thing. They still give you hull, but it's a different mineral input requirement. So just depending on what you have available to you and which sector of space you're flying in, what's in abundance, will determine what you should be using to craft everything. Now here, so if we spawn some frames, you see the CNC machine is going there. I will program it. Once I create all the audios, I have to make audio. So different sound effects for each crafting station when you interact with them. We're gonna do all that eventually. So now that I have 4 frames, I should be able to make one of these halls. And boom, we built the crystalline hall. As you can see on the bottom left, if you're ever wondering if the game's doing what it's supposed to be doing, you can always look here. So it took away 4 frames and 4 crystal plates. As you can see, I no longer have frames. We are out of frames. It doesn't overwrite whenever you pick something up. It only overwrites when you build something. So if you were to build a ship, then immediately the ship would be saved. So if the game crashed or whatever happened, then the ship would be saved. The same is true for ship destruction. If you have a ship and it's destroyed, if you tried to Alt F4 your game real quick so that your ship will be back when you come back, you'll find that the ship's already been deleted. So it kind of works like an online server system, like EVE Online. When your ship blows up, it's gone. It's gone. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You can't reset the game. It's fucking immediately deleted. There's no stopping it. So components, you do your components over there at the CNC machine. Then you come here and you use the assembler to build your systems, and then you use the systems to build the spaceships. The same is true for buffs. So buffs over here require all manner of different inputs. So a buff has a frame and a crystal pane, so it's basically enshrouded in glass. Every single buff will have at least one frame and one crystal pane, and then depending on what the buff is doing, like CDR, so we have heat sinks here. Heat sinks will cool the weapons down and allow you to fire them in faster succession. That's why heat sinks are required for the CDR buff. Buff crit chance. If you mix your munitions with enriched uranium, yeah, chances are you're probably going to do more damage using nuclear rounds. So that's how the crit chance mechanic is working. We're on to, I think, the last wicket here, which is the item tracker. The item tracker is the newest addition to the game. If you try to build something that you don't have the materials for, the item tracker will let you know. And I'm not talking about the bottom left down here, because yeah, we'll let you know here. So it says you're trying to build the F-22. It's telling you what you're missing. But then over here you see this is an item tracker, which is a direct match of the thing you're trying to build. If you try to build the same recipe again, the item tracker goes away. And it says over here, untracking item. So, as you can see, this is problematic. If you try to track something else, or if you try to build something else, it will switch your recipe, which you don't want that. These old consoles, so they're from the original game, back before I did all the new dynamic GUI stuff. So with the new dynamic GUI stuff, I will need to add a new console, a lock console, onto everything. So once you hit the lock button, you'll see the lock appears over here. It's not a good color, but this lock right here will prevent your recipe from changing over here in the tracking recipe. So item tracker's locked. It says we're missing 4 frames, so I can still use this thing on the bottom left here, but the real thing I'm trying to build so I don't get distracted is here. This is the item tracker. If your GUIs are getting clouded, you'll see if you hide all of the GUIs, the item tracker is still there. To fix that, basically, you have to track something, untrack it, lock the item tracker. So that way now when you go to try to build something that you don't have enough resources for, item tracker is still locked, and it's not going to cloud your screen. If you want this screen real estate for whatever you're doing in the game, you can use the GUI, but then yeah, the lock icon's there. That might get annoying. But yeah, there are options. If you just don't want to see it, obviously you can just take the lock off and just be like, alright, I'm not crafting anything for this period of time, whatever. So if you're out in battle and you want the GUIs to be completely hidden, that's an option. I think that just about covers all of the crafting changes that we've made. So yeah, we've gotten about 60, we've gone from 16 to 61 items. There's multiple pages, exploded spreadsheet format in the player GUI for you to work with. Dynamic GUI, instead of looking at a spreadsheet for every single console, because trying to do that for 61 items would be impossible. It'd be impossible to track what you needed. So dynamic GUI makes it really easy to track things. There are, I believe, 4 or 5 new crafting stations. Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new crafting stations to craft all the things that will be made in the game. I will probably create variants of all of these crafting stations. Crafting recipe variants. Yeah, I did go over that. The tungsten rods. I'm pretty sure that just about covers everything. So if you've been wondering what I've been up to all this week, that's what we've been doing. Yeah, maybe I'll do a video in the future going over the future to-do list, so we can go in depth over everything that is anticipating to come to the game, basically. We'll go over that in detail, and we'll have at it. Thanks for watching this video, everyone. I hope to see you again.